Hey everyone, Andrea Anderson here, Chief Ideas Specialist of Your Marketing Machines. And thank you for coming to join us today, because today we're going to be talking about Master Your Marketing for 2020, 2021. And here we're going to learn about how to build out a one-page marketing game plan. Woohoo! So let's get started, because there's so much exciting stuff that we need to share with you today. First and foremost though, I'd love to do an acknowledgement to country, and that is we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, traditions, culture and hope of all Indigenous Australians. So thank you so much for allowing me to do that. The question I need to ask you though is, what is it you're actually after from today's presentation? You may find in front of you that there's a multiple of doors, and each of those doors can lead you down a marketing rabbit hole. Yep, guess what? That's where they all begin. They begin by going down the wrong door. So the key here for us in today's presentation is to understand what doors you should be knocking on first and foremost before you start to take the path down the marketing arena. So why are you really here? And that is, maybe you're wanting to understand this thing called marketing. Perhaps you're looking at wanting to create a marketing plan that you can actually implement. Perhaps you're just over being baffled by marketing, right? Because guess what? Marketers are great at the BS. Yeah, I said it. Oops, the BS. Maybe you're looking to work out, what's going to be right for you and what's going to work for you. Or perhaps you're like most people I actually talk to, where they're all of the above. So raise your hand if that's you, because it's okay. You can be that way. So today, what we're going to be talking about is this. This is the marketing blueprint, okay? This here is going to save you all the hassles, all the challenges, all the nightmares, all the frustrations, and all the headaches that you get with marketing. Why? Because marketing consists of 4 very simple components. We're going to talk about those today. So the first thing we're going to talk to you about is, I'm just going to open this up here for you, lead generation. Absolutely. Up here, the very top thing for us, and we're going to talk about the 4 key components of lead generation for you. And this is where we build brand awareness. It's where you capture curiosity, create interest and desire about your business. So why would you lead generate? Well, you want to let people know that you actually are open for business. You want them to know that you're ready to serve now. The second thing is you're looking to want to generate interest. You want people to know that there's an alternative solution out in the marketplace other than what they're currently using at the moment. And the third key aspect is you're wanting to find potential customers. That's right, the ka-ching ka-ching at the end of the process. So lead generation becomes very important for you, and it's real essential that when you're looking at it, that you need to consider your brand. And we're going to talk about that in a later presentation. So when we talk about lead generation, Andrea, what do you mean? Great question. So the 4 key kinds of lead generation that's available to you at the moment. Number 1, your social media strategies. This is the use of digital platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest. These kind of platforms actually allow you the opportunity to not only create interest about your product or your service, but also gives you the opportunity to create a following, to have people actually like your page or like your posts, but more importantly, follow you and get to build relationship. Number 2 form of lead generation is offline media. Now, depending upon who you're talking to, in the marketing departments, some marketers will tell you that offline is dead. Wrong again, okay? Offline media strategies are just as equally effective as online strategies, because offline is things like a brochure that you can physically give to somebody. It's your business card, it's a flyer, it's a newspaper article. Guess what? It's even radio, television. It's this kind of thing here as well, doing a video and putting it on a YouTube channel and having people watch and follow you, okay? So offline media strategies is just as equally important and will support your social media strategy and vice versa. Third kind, public media strategies. These are fantastic for allowing you the opportunity to share your knowledge, your expertise. It gives you the ability to be able to communicate directly with potential people who are sitting at a table, who are sitting at a networking event, or even if you've given the opportunity to guest speak, and you can share your wisdom in a period of time to a multitude of many. So public media strategies are really important as well because it allows people to experience you in a real world basis rather than through a post that you're putting on a digital platform. Fourth, and probably for me, one of the most exciting yet underutilized and most cost-effective lead generation strategies, and that's referral media strategies. That's where you have other people become absolute raving lunatics for your business. This is where people go out and they talk about you and they talk about how wonderful you are and how incredible you are at delivering your product and service. And guess what happens? This is where word of mouth comes from. This is where people come and knock on your door saying that Joe Blogs down the corner actually referred you. So when you're looking at your lead generation, these are the four main aspects available to you. It's so important that when you are looking at your particular lead generation strategies, I want you to be able to take each of those four, I'm going to repeat them again, social media, offline media, public media, and referral media strategies. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to rate them from 1 to 4. 1 being what you're most likely to use as a lead generation strategy, and 4 being the least likely. Now, word of advice here. Will you need to do a combination of all 4? Short answer, yes, you will. That's why I'm telling you about them. So important because why? You'll find that on average, most people, it takes between 4 to 7 touch points for them to actually build confidence in you and feel confident enough in the decision they make to invest in you. Okay, 4 to 7 touch points. Now remember, social media, for example, Facebook, yes, it has 15 million people registered on a Facebook page here in Australia. But team, there's 13 million that aren't on Facebook. So why would you only allow your brand to be found on Facebook? Instagram has approximately 12, 13 million followers on Instagram. Team, that's approximately 15 million others that aren't on Instagram. So once again, why would you allow yourself only to be seen on a digital platform? So moral of the story here, before you get started in your marketing, I want you to take time out and I want you to go, Andrea, I'm going to use, and I'm going to recommend that you have 2 main platforms as your initial 1 and 2 that you're going to start with. 2. Be lucky I don't say all 4, but 2. So just take a few moments and I want you to make a note of which 2 are going to be the ones that you're going to follow through on. Excellent. Well, I hope you wrote those 2 key components down because that's going to be the beginning of your marketing game plan. So now we're going to move into step number 2. Step number 2 is the nurture journey. This is where the person's given you their contact information. It may be an email address, it might be a telephone number, or it could even be that they've actually come to like you on your page. The aim of the game here in the nurture journey, this is where we start to build relationship. This is where the conversation begins. Now, why is it important to go through this process first and foremost? Well, I'm just going to use an example. It's been a long time since I've had to do this, but it's still relevant today. Imagine if you're in a pub, imagine if you're at a bar and suddenly some gentleman walks up to you and says, "Hey baby, wink wink, nudge nudge, you look good to me," and they decide to take you out somewhere else for the night. Now, normally, people that really like you, they'll ask you for your name. They might stop and have a conversation with you. They may like to get to know you a little bit better, perhaps even buy you a drink before you commit. If you have ever experienced that in your past, guess what? So have I. So amusing. But you don't want to be like that in marketing. Nurture Journey allows you the opportunity to share your experience, your knowledge, to share what you like, what you don't like. More importantly, it gives your lead the opportunity to do the same. So when we're in the Nurture Journey phase, this is step number 2, what we need to be looking at here is our content. In other words, what is it that we're going to share with our leads about us? And it's so important that we actually get this clear, because this is all about building your brand. This is all about building brand awareness, but more importantly, getting people to begin to like you. Because if people like you, guess what they're going to do? Ka-ching, ka-ching. They're going to buy from you. I know, miracles do occur. So when we're looking at your content, first thing I want you to do, and that is to work out what is it that I want to share with people about my business or about my product or my service. Now, it could be that this is where you talk about your values, you talk about your principles in your business. For example, if you are a fashion store and you use natural fibres as the material rather than polycottons bought in from overseas, guess what? That says a lot about your value inside your business. It says a lot about how you actually operate your business. Potentially, you're the kind of organisation that likes to keep it real. It's not about being authentic. You like it to be real. You want people to feel like they can have a real conversation with you. That's one of our values inside Your Marketing Machines. Is for us, we just want to keep it real. We don't want there to be the BS. We don't want there to baffle you or confuse you or frustrate you even more. We want to have a simple, honest conversation. So that's one of our values. You may find that you operate your business in a certain way where, for example, there could be a big component of you that's involved in charities, where you might give a percentage of your profits away to charity. Fantastic. That says a lot about you as a business. So when you're looking at developing content and sharing of messages, it's real important that you actually work out what kind of messages you want to put out there about you. And that's all part of the Nurture Journey. Part 2 of the Nurture Journey, and that is scheduling your content. In other words, what kind of, how often do you want to be sharing your content out to your particular audiences? And scheduling it is real important. And this is why I need to explain this to you in a little bit more detail. If you are going to use multiple platforms to show up, remember, 4 to 7 times before somebody's prepared to buy from you. So let's say, for example, you go, Andrea, I'm going to do a newsletter, I'm going to do Facebook, I'm going to do Instagram, I'm also going to do blogs and articles on my website. I'm going to go, fantastic, that's a great start. Reason why you should be scheduling is you want to make sure that when you're posting out your information, you want it to be consistent from one platform to the next. If you're putting out different messages across different platforms, fundamentally what you're going to do is confuse your lead or your prospect. And we all know, like a deer in the headlights, we don't buy, we run for the hills. And that's exactly what you're going to do to your prospects. So scheduling is going to be real important, and I normally recommend that you schedule over a 30-day period. Pull out a topic of the month that's relevant to you. Go and look for other days or events that are going to be happening in that particular month that you can align with, or that align with your values. And then what you do is, inside each of those 30 days, you then decide what kind of post you're going to be doing, what kind of content you're going to be sharing, and where you're going to be sharing it across. So important for you to do that. So here's what I want you to do now. Take a few moments. I want you to sit down and go, Andrea said I have to figure out what kind of messages I'm going to want to deliver. So here, this is all about planning. I want you to make a note of the kind of messages you want to share. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I want you to start becoming creative on how you are going to build your brand and promote your brand with success. I'll see you back in a few moments. Welcome back. Well, how did you go with actually putting on your creative hat and putting together the kind of messages you wanted to put out there? Firstly, I need to commend you to do that, because I know sometimes it can be really difficult to, express yourself in a way that hopefully will appeal to other people. But this is all part of building out your marketing plan. So now I'm going to go into step number 3. Step number 3 here, team, is the prospect experience. This is after people have started to receive communication from you, and you're now helping them. You're now helping the lead to self-select whether they are hot or not for you. Because, come on, let's admit it. The last thing we want to be doing is wasting our time with tire kickers, right? People are just going to take you on a merry-go-round, and then by the time you're finished on the merry-go-round and you're all confused, they've gone and left. Like, the door's open and they're gone. So the key with prospect experience here, team, is actually understanding that your whole role here in communicating with them is for the individual to determine if they're ready to have an in-depth conversation with you, or if they're still in the looking zone, if they're still in the research zone. So when we're in the prospect experience stage here, what we're actually looking to do is to collect data about our prospects. We're looking at, what's their buying behavior like? What are they interested in? What is it about my product or service that's motivating them to want to receive my information? What is it that I need to do to move them to the next step of moving from a no lead to a warm lead? And then what do I need to do to move them from a warm lead to a hot lead? Okay, so the key here inside prospect experience, this is where we do data gathering. This is where we start to understand the audience that we have currently been attracting. It's also at this stage that we are looking at automating as well. This is the beginning of the automation process for us. And that could be, for example, your newsletters. You may want to write your newsletters in advance, possibly put some surveys and the like in there. You automate them being released. So they might get released, for example, one a month on the 15th of every month. You also want to be creating an opportunity for your audience to actually respond back to you. So I just mentioned surveys. Surveys are fantastic. Great way for you to collect a little bit of intel about the people who are on your newsletter feeds, or even on your Facebook or your Insta posts, okay? Because the more you can obtain about them, the better it's going to be. When we're looking inside the prospect experience / nurture journey phase, there are some key components here of software that you need to consider. Number one for us is that CRM system, that customer relationship management system. You want to be able to, when you collect the data, you want to house it somewhere so that you can access that data over and over again. Your email marketing sequence, understanding that the way that you speak to somebody who's come through as a newsletter inquiry, or somebody who's given you a telephone call, you need to be able to communicate to those people in different ways. I'm sure if you're like me, you've received blanket emails and you've just got sick and tired of being over emailed by businesses. And that's because what they haven't done is they haven't identified you as a unique audience member. If you have appointments that you offer people, so for example, for me at Your Marketing Machines, people can book a 15-minute no obligation telephone call. Well, the last thing I need from my end is somebody to email me constantly and then do the whole email back and forth. Whereas it's just easier if I just attach a link and you can then go into my calendar and book when it best suits you. For some of you, that may be what you need to be doing. And you also need to be looking at, as part of your marketing plan here in the prospect experience, and that is, you may need some support. You may need some help in actually designing newsletters or designing your posts that you need to put out to your audience. And if that's the case, there's plenty of opportunities there to find support for you. So when you're in the prospect experience phase, here's where I want you to be looking for. And that is, what's the quality of the communication that I need to be considering when I'm looking at wanting to transition people from being not for us to slightly liking us to them being hot for us. And it's real important that when you are looking at your communication, you want to ensure that you can track the results as well. And that's why your CRM system team is so important, because you need to be able to understand how many people are opening up my emails, likewise on Facebook, how many people are liking my posts, how many people are actually engaging with me, letting me know how they actually feel about my information. So here's what I want you to do as part of step 3 of your marketing plan. And that is, I want you to sit down and I want you to go, what kind of technology, what kind of software do I need to be using to help me in understanding whether my audience is hot or not for me? So take a few moments and we'll see you back real soon. Hey everyone, welcome back. How did you go? Did you make a note of the kind of software and the kind of support that you're needing at the prospect experience phase? Now, I know you're probably wondering, Andrea, when are we going to talk about, I don't know, Canva? And when are we going to talk about XYZ? If you want to be successful in marketing and have marketing work for you, it is so important that we maintain and build first and foremost the marketing blueprint. So we're going to move into step number 4, the final step, and that is sales conversion. This is where you have the ability to start creating ka-ching, ka-ching. Yay! All that hard work is all starting to pay off for you, okay? The key here in sales conversion is this is where we begin to understand how to convert prospects to customers. And then I'm going to educate you on how to turn your customers straight back up here into absolute raving lunatics for your business that tells everybody about you. Who here wants to have referrers? Who here wants to have strategic partnerships that are going to start telling all of their connections about you? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Excellent. Because that's what we need to be working towards. So the sales conversion is the process of building relationships and trust. This is where you offer additional information. This is the whole education so that your prospect will have, I guess, be building confidence in you as a solution provider. So let's talk about, for example, the different kinds of clients or the different kinds of audience members that you're going to have in the sales conversion. The first one you're going to have is the suspect, okay? These people don't normally respond to communication you may present on a regular basis. These are your voyeurs. They're the ones that are watching you, they're cyber stalking you, they're not engaging with you, but guess what? They haven't unsubscribed either. These are the kind of people who actually, for whatever reason, they like what you've got to say, but more than likely, the timing isn't quite right for them to actually engage with you. And that's okay. We all need cold leads or suspects, as I call them, in our database, because when the time is right for them to make a decision and they're looking for the solution, I'm hoping that you will be the one at the forefront that they come to. Why? Because you've been sharing valuable information with them over time, and believe it or not, been building a relationship with them. Because their motivation level is quite low, they're at what I call as a step 1. The best way that you can actually communicate to suspects is actually through monthly newsletters, is just keeping them in the loop, not always selling to them, but actually giving them a little bit of tip, hint or trick with the occasional call to action. And the call to action that I normally recommend people is book an appointment, or fill in a survey, or give me some customer feedback, or come and join me free of charge at an event that I'm running. Come and register and join us. So there's a number of different ways that you can start to engage this person, or provide the opportunities for this individual to actually engage with you. If you're looking at how you've actually got this person coming through you, more than likely they've probably come through your website, where they may have filled in an inquiry form, or they may have registered to your newsletter and they're just wanting to receive a little bit of information from you. I run something called 365s, where instead of sending a monthly newsletter, I send a daily tip, hint or trick, and it's normally 77 seconds long. 77 seconds. Say that after a few times, okay? And the reason why I do that, I give one tip, not 20, one tip every day, is because I provide myself in a 30-day period 30 opportunities for a suspect to actually reach out to me at any time. And they're all short, 77 seconds. That's it. No more, right? 77 seconds, okay? Step number 2 is I then go to include, as I said, every tip that I give has a call to action. The call to action could be book a no obligation 15-minute telephone call with me. And when the time is right, I know you'll do that. In this instance, I am not selling. In the instance of the tip, hint and trick, I'm sharing my information. I'm sharing my knowledge. There is no sales at all in that, other than come and book a no obligation 15-minute telephone call with me. Number 2, your warm lead to prospect. Now, the characteristics of a warm lead to prospect is that they're actively seeking information. They've probably been researching you for a while. They're in the warm zone. In other words, they're probably motivated to invest, but they just need a little bit more information. So the curiosity level from a motivational perspective is quite high. Okay, they're almost there. They're what I call they're at a step sort of 7 out of 10. They're just looking for a little bit more information. Maybe they're just making sure their finances line up. Maybe they're just looking for a comparison. They're speaking to you. They could be speaking to a couple of your competitors. How you communicate to this particular person is definitely through maintaining those newsletter communications. If they've started to reach out to you, they've probably told you that they're no longer in the general zone. They're probably in a specific zone. So I would be providing them or feeding them a little bit more specific information relevant to what they're looking for. Maybe, once again, it could be a telephone call at this point in time where you're inviting them to come and have a no obligation conversation with you. Step number 1, when you get a warm prospect, remain calm. Okay, remain calm. Yes, I know sometimes it can get really exciting that someone's reached out and they want to give us some money or they want to ask us more questions. Stay calm. Okay, it's really important that you don't scare them. It's like a frightened animal coming up to see you for the first time, and if you try to hug them, they run for the hills. This is exactly the same. Step number 2, you want to confirm what the next step or requirement is from you. In other words, what would they like to happen next? And in some cases, you could even potentially guide them, or you give them options. I always give options. Option 1, option 2. You decide. It's your journey. It's your decision. And step number 3, this is probably where you're preparing proposals, maybe sales presentations, correspondence there needs to align with their problem and your solution. Okay? Here we go. We're into hot lead to customer. The characteristics here, oh my God, baby, they want you. They want you, they love you, they want your product, they want your service, they want your solution. High level of motivation, they're ready to go. They are so excited to have you on board. Okay, so this is where, from a communication perspective, please remove them from the general newsletter. Okay, they now go into a special category. That special category is called clients, customers, right? You don't talk to them like you would to the general mass. These people are now ready to invest their hard-earned cash in you. Please, I encourage you, move them from the general newsletter. Give them a special box that is unique to them. Okay, step number 1 on how you should be responding. Please, do the jiggy behind closed doors so they can't see you. So important. And look, I'm going to encourage you, have a celebration dance. I have one. Whenever I get a client over the line or get a prospect over the line, I hop off the phone. Honestly, this is what I do. Booyah! Woohoo! Yeah, I got one. Chugga-lugga-lugga, chugga-lugga-lugga. Woohoo! So exciting. Celebrate it, but please, do it behind closed doors. Don't do it in front of the client. Rather embarrassing, especially if they hear you. Step number 2, this is where you instigate the onboarding process. Okay. Now, some of you here are probably going, but Andrea, I've got a retail store. Guess what? The process is still the same. You wait till they leave the door and then you go, yes, another one bites the dust, whatever it may be. But it's so essential that you create that onboarding process. And step number 3 of this is where you start to produce your magic for them. This is where you start really looking after and servicing your client. And if you're in retail, this is even more important for you. This is where you've got that follow-up, that follow-through process with them. You know, if you manage to get them to sign over to a loyalty card, or if you manage them to go into the draw to win a $150 voucher on their next visit, fantastic. Guess what? Start to look after your clients. You want them to come back. And the next thing you want them to do is you want them to become a raving lunatic for your particular business, okay? So raving fans, let's talk about that conversion. This is the people who love you. They think you're absolutely the bee's knees. These are the people who the way that you've presented your solution has been phenomenal. So testimonials are so important here. Recommendations are absolutely essential. And you want to be creating this. Just because the client's given you the money, don't let them walk out the door without asking them if they want to take the relationship a little bit further. This is also, by the way, the most cost-effective lead generation strategy ever. It's the fastest way to build a very successful business. So when we're talking referral strategies, there's 2 kinds of referrers that we want to talk about. Number 1, strategic partnerships. These are relationships, professional relationships that you may have with other businesses who may service the same kind of audience as you, but they provide a different service offering. The beauty about having this is that it's non-competitive. This can actually be a collaboration where there's an opportunity for you to also support your strategic partnerships business as well. Step number 2 is the customer referral. This is where you may have a client who suddenly starts recommending your services and your expertise to their network and their environment. Equally, just as important. And I'm a big fan of actually setting up referral media strategies, but also rewarding people for referring new business to me. Why? It's cheaper. Bottom line, it's cheaper. It's a great way for me also to thank the referrer and to let them know that I'm appreciative of them actually thinking about me. So, step number 4, this is what I want you to do. I want you to sit down and I want you to go, who could I potentially build a strategic relationship with? Who do I know that I would feel so comfortable in doing any sort of mutual promotion with? They may actually target the same kind of audience as me, but provide a different service. Step number 2, if you've got customers right now, right now, I want you to review and ask yourself the question, what am I doing to support my customers beyond the initial purchase? How am I actually communicating to my current customers? And is there an opportunity there for me to be able to create a referral strategy with my customers? The next thing I want you to do while you're sitting there and while you're taking this all on board is I want you to be sitting down and looking at the kinds of communication you're doing. Am I removing customers from my general newsletter? Am I treating them with the respect that they deserve? Why? Because they paid you. That's the reason why you should be respecting them. Have I set up a different segment for my clients where I treat them with a lot more respect? I communicate to them in a lot more of a personal manner. Maybe I put in place reminders to come back and buy my product again. This is so important as part of the marketing plan for you, because the more that you can do this, the more likely you are to have a situation where your referral media strategies becomes the biggest part of your lead generation. So I'm just going to give you a few moments to do that, and then we'll see you when you get back. Wow, how did you find that? Okay, did you manage to sit down? Did you answer all those questions I gave you? I know it's a little bit difficult, but this is what's going to make the difference in having a successful marketing plan and one that's going to fail. So let's recap. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the marketing blueprint. We're talking about, first and foremost, your lead generation, identifying the areas where you're going to show up and your brand is going to build curiosity, interest, as well as build awareness. The next step we talked about down in here, the nurture journey. How are we going to share our messages? What kind of messages are we going to produce? How often are we going to communicate with the audiences that have started to follow us or join us on our newsletters? Step number 3, the prospect experience. Looking at the kind of software applications we're going to integrate into our business. Why? So that we can determine who's hot and who's not for us at the moment. And then step number 4, the sales conversion strategies. What do we need to do to move these people from being a suspect to a prospect to a customer, and a customer to an absolute raving lunatic for your business? So team, that is probably the most efficient way for you to be able to build a one-page marketing game plan for you. I'm going to encourage you to sit down, resonate on all of it, utilize the marketing blueprint to help and support you. And I'm going to wish you all the very best at integrating, implementing, and creating success from your marketing plan.